Hello.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Almost it's Sunday. I still forget we're on Mondays now.
Days are difficult.
Welcome to Wolf Mountain. How's everybody? All one of you. We're going to chill a little bit. We haven't been on in a while, so we didn't expect a whole lot of people to show up tonight. So we'll do our usual stall thing until other people get online. So welcome to Wolf Mountain. This is recorded live on YouTube as well. So if you want to check it out on YouTube, you can go do that. We are your occasional online alternative spiritual community where we talk about the Enneagram, because we have a certified Enneagram coach, Melanie, from 7 to 7:30. And then from 7:30 to 8, I jump on and do a little spiritual intelligence, we like to call it, teaching or whatever we feel like doing. So yeah, how's it going out there? Oh yeah, and we encourage interaction. So comment, say hello, talk to us. This is more of a discussion, really. And we like interaction, so feel free to comment. Just be warned that we will throw your comments up on the screen if we think they're funny.
Or just interesting.
Or interesting.
Or insightful.
Or insightful.
Or whatever.
Those good
or we
things.
just feel like it.
Yeah. So it's been a while. It's been a minute. We have not done this in like what, 4 weeks? Is this 3 weeks? I don't even know how long we've gone.
3?
Sorry.
Not sure.
We keep meaning to do it, and then we're just out and about. And we can't get around to it, and it's kind of a loose, unstructured thing we do. Unreligious. We don't have any. It's not religious, so we don't have like a consistent schedule, and sometimes that kicks us out of people's algorithms, so they don't know we're on, and they come back and watch the YouTube later or whatever. But
hi,
hey,
Susie.
Susie, good to see you too. It's been a while. It's been a minute. How's everybody? How are you?
I'm pretty good.
What did you do today?
I worked and prepared for this.
Apparently I worked on making my hair really tall. I just realized it has a high Elvis factor.
It is funny compared to how flat mine is.
I just have a lot of hair, you guys.
It's good hair.
Hey, Susie. Okay, well, we have been busy. We've been all over the place. We've been to the beach. We've been to Santa Fe, which I think, oh yeah, we're doing favorite thing ever of the week, because we like to start out with.
Don't take mine.
Oh, what's your favorite thing ever of the week?
It's Santa Fe.
Santa Fe.
I'd never been there before, and my favorite specifically part of it was Meow Wolf, which, if you guys haven't been there, what a crazy trippy place. I don't think I've ever been anywhere weirder
than Meow Wolf.
This crazy,
it is weird,
inexplicable art installation. It's a converted bowling alley that has, I don't know how many different rooms, like 50 maybe, or more, and they're you have to see it.
Hard to explain. It's like these artists got together. If you ever get to go to Santa Fe, check out Meow Wolf. It's a big art installation. All these artists got together and made this like interactive, like sci-fi movie kind of thing.
It feels like drugs could have been involved.
Drugs could have been involved.
I'm not
almost
sure.
Surely will. Or you walk in and you like come up to this house. It looks like you're outside someone's house, and you walk in and it looks like someone's average house, and you start opening up things and realize there's something weird going on. Like you can walk through the refrigerator into a porthole that just like goes off into an acid trip. It's the best way I can describe it.
You can go through the fireplace.
It's like a frightening acid trippy Disneyland. That's what it is.
The trees have eyes.
It's very weird. Check it out.
Yeah.
Hey Lee, how's it going?
What was your favorite thing ever of the week?
My favorite thing ever of the week is I got a electric foil board. I don't know if you know what foil surfboard is.
Who knows what that is? It's new.
It's like a surfboard with a wing on the bottom, and you fly out of the water. And mine's electric; it powers itself. Yes, Amanda, it's like an Alice in the Wonderland kind of thing. If Alice was very twisted and needed some therapy.
Yeah, it's Alice-y.
It is Alice-y. Well, cool. Let's just cut right to the chase, because we have a lot to talk about tonight.
Cut to the chase.
Are you ready to cut?
Sure.
2 chases?
Yeah.
Cool.
I'll get my notes over here.
Well, offered to a little awkward start tonight because we feel like we're a little rusty, but we're getting in the groove here. We had a long day, so we just ran home, and here we are. Bing.
Bing.
Ready to chat with you guys.
Yeah.
So today's theme is I love I'm not going to let
Sid's
that
little
cheesy
intros.
intros go. I love those. They make me laugh so hard. Anger management. We want to talk about anger today. I just felt like it was a thing that we needed to talk about, given the current climate and stuff I've been struggling with personally. People who follow me know I am empathic. And see, we always lose a follower or two or a viewer when we play
Don't
that
go.
clip.
Don't be scared.
So funny. I love it. Anyway, people who follow me know that I like to speak to the crowd who doesn't get a lot of attention, and that is the spiritually sensitive people, spiritually gifted people, particularly empathic or clairsentient, or people like in the church would like to say discerners of spirits, which is not 100% the same thing, but spiritually sensitive people. And so I myself, being one of those people, I've really been struggling with some stuff the last couple weeks, and it's been like a battle. But usually people like me will go through that stuff so we can like help other people navigate it. So we're gonna talk about anger. Not people's favorite subject. It's funny when you bring up anger, how much people don't want to talk about anger. I think people don't like to admit they're angry on occasion even, and some people are afraid to be angry. Actually, I think that I've heard quite a few people say they're just scared to be angry, and I think that's interesting. I don't think it's something that's good talked about enough, like what to do with all that stuff. So we're going to talk about it. And Melanie, being our Enneagram coach, is going to talk about the Enneagram in relation to
Anger.
I know anger. Smart.
Wait, what? Yes. Talking about anger through the Enneagram lens. And y'all have probably noticed that things seem to be ramped up, not just in our country, but everywhere globally, that things are more intense and people are just more quick to anger right now. And using the Enneagram as a tool for that, for understanding where other people are coming from, maybe understanding better to manage anger and use it for good and not for evil.
Why don't you describe what the Enneagram is for people who don't know what that is really quick?
So in brief, the Enneagram is a personality typing system that goes to the motivations more than behaviors, but those motivations tend to inspire certain behaviors, and it's broken down into 9 types, which we'll talk about how they're different. And you might recognize yourself in there somewhere, or other people that you know.
Yeah. So it's not like a categorization thing, putting people in a box, which a lot of people think. It's more like if you're like a type O blood type, you have certain characteristics specific to you that are type O. So these numbers are kind of like your blood type, but more like your personality types. And those numbers have traits that are specific to you because of how you're wired. So
recognizing the box you're already in, and then that's the best way to get out of the box, to recognize that you're in one.
Can you just comment on how tall my hair is again today? It's
very
Isn't it
impressive, good hair, though? It is good.
It's a thing of beauty. Okay. That was weird. All right. I'll just turn it back over to you and quit talking now.
Okay. So I'll just give a little shout out to a magazine article that was really well constructed up on this topic. If you want to read more about it, I would recommend the article in Relevant magazine by Jill McCormick called "How Each Enneagram Type Can Handle Their Anger." And I'm going to use some of her article in this.
I'm sure Paul says your hair is taller than him.
Aww.
That might be true. You could hide in there, Paul. You could hide.
Paul, you're awesome.
Hey, Janelle, I miss you guys. I haven't seen you in a while. How's it going out there? All right.
Well, in Janelle's honor, why don't we start with type 1, the reformer.
Right. The reformer.
Yeah. And so today, I kind of also visited with different people as I went about my day of different types and asked them 3 questions. I asked them, and these are people whose Enneagram types that I know. I asked them what makes them angry, how they express their anger, and how they manage their anger. So
like bad hair days.
that can make some types angry.
Yeah.
So I'll mention that a little bit too on the types that I got to visit with today. And feel free to weigh into your own experiences.
Yeah, let us know if the stuff resonates with you, or I'll play my intro again.
Everybody weigh in. So starting with type 1, the reformer. So things that tend to make type 1s angry would be other people not taking responsibility, would be when they see
I thought you were just going to end it at other people.
sometimes just other people. Yeah. Injustice, when they see that goodness isn't happening. So those things tend to trigger a 1.
So 1 is a high justice person.
Yeah. And they will tend first to kind of focus that anger inward to when ones are really hard on themselves, and they will be angry with themselves when they don't feel like they're meeting their own expectations. They've got those harsh inner critics that really beat them up. And sometimes the anger will come out from a 1. It might come out passive aggressive. It could come out nitpicky. It might come out explosive, but that probably wouldn't happen right away. So those are some ways you might see it in a 1. They might be more critical than normal. And then some ways that you can kind of work through that, manage that anger is, and with a lot of these apply to all the different types, but of course, just like taking it to God, praying about it, letting Him have it, your frustrations. And the article recommends journaling or finding a neutral kind of third party to talk through it with, just to kind of
It's like
get it
vigilante
out there.
justice isn't a good way.
I don't recommend vigilante justice. Maybe we'll talk about that on 4s.
Like Batman, he's the perfect 4 vigilante.
He is. Yes, he is. Then moving on to type
Rachel.
2. Hi, Rachel. Type 2 are the helpers. So 2s can tend to get angry. Well, first, since 2s are in the shame triad, a lot of times their anger will start as shame and kind of shift into anger. And 2s tend not to want to really show their anger, because they kind of can see it as a bad emotion, and they want, they don't want to jeopardize any relationships with anger. So it can kind of, and it might look more like resentment or hurt. They might feel it or express it as hurt, like if they're feeling overlooked, if they're feeling undervalued. I had a lot of people today, and I talked to, I don't know, half a dozen people of different types, say that what made them angry was injustice. And I think that that's just kind of in the atmosphere right now, that a lot of people see injustice happening and are just angry about it. So that's not unique to only
we'll talk
one
about
type.
that later. That's actually one of the 4 main reasons people experience anger is injustice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which, that's something that is fair to be angry about.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I don't blame you. That's on my list too. Let's see. So 2s. So it would be also kind of inwardly focused, and they might, if they're feeling very angry, they might get a little, they could get a little intense. They could 2s go to 8 in stress, so they could get pretty intense, or they might become a little bit martyry-ish or a little passive aggressive. So those might be things you could recognize as anger in a type 2. And my one type 2 friend, I asked about that today. I asked her how she managed her anger, and she said she does like to, which might be unique for her too, I'm not really sure. She does like to talk to people when she feels like they need a talking to, but when she's angry with them. And I do know this about her, that she's pretty confrontational for it too. But she said she does try really hard to take the time to make sure that she is calm before she talks to them, and that she's not going to escalate it. So she does really want resolution so she can maintain her relationships, which I think that's a good, mature approach to anger.
Well, maintain relationships.
Yeah. Although I have seen her not take all that much time with her kids sometimes when they really are over the line. I won't out her though. And I will say it is funny in all my friends I talked to today, to kind of how they would deal with their anger to most of the world is a little different than how they would deal with it with their spouse and children. So,
I think that's across the board.
I think that is across the board. And it was quite amusing. So we let our guard down with our immediate
They only they know
family,
how
and they
terrible
might get to
we really
see
are.
all the good, bad, and ugly. Yeah. Okay, type 3, the
Type 3s.
achiever.
Achiever.
Uh, so, and I asked my type 3 friend about this, and she gave me a very textbook 3 answer. She said, what makes her most mad is when people don't value her time.
Mm.
So if people are getting in the way of the success of a 3, or getting in the way of them achieving their goals or accomplishing their tasks, they get mad. And 3s are image focused, so they will tend to, stuff that and hide it because they don't really want to publicly project an image of anger because they want to look like they have it all together. But again, that inner circle, their family, they're probably going to express that anger to their spouse and their kids.
Must have that part of the 3-way. I don't like when people waste my time.
Yeah. So that is something that can happen. And I think does. And again, threes are their emotions are repressed, but they're also in that shame triad. So there can be shame underneath that anger. So like if a 3 is called on, if their self-image they're trying to project is called out, a challenge, then they will definitely be angry, but that it's rooted in shame underneath the anger. So
I had a 3 friend that would just come unglued if he got caught in any kind of lie.
Yeah,
in public.
or they're projecting this image of success,
Yeah.
and if you challenge that, it's probably going to trigger them. So
Yeah.
beware.
Don't do that unless you want to. You push their buttons.
I mean,
do not use the Enneagram for evil.
Don't use it for evil. No.
I'm like the bad cop Enneagram person.
Yeah, don't be the bad cop.
Don't listen to what I say. Listen to what she says.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hey.
Cool.
Let's see. So one thing is spending time alone and again in prayer with God. Like, how does He see you? How does He really see you? And not just how the world sees you, but how God does. That's the most true reflection. And think through the shame aspect of it. Like, what are your shoulds? What are the expectations that are put upon you that maybe you don't even need to hold on to as an expectation? Maybe you can let them go. As a thought.
Some of our comments are not showing up over here.
Oh, weird.
They are over here.
Okay.
The internet's a weird place.
The internet is a weird place in so
all
many
good.
ways. Okay. So moving on to everyone's favorite type, the individualist.
There's only one of us.
There is one, but maybe some others are out there too. You're all just the only one.
We're all the only one. We're like the Highlander. There can be only one. At the end of everything, all the 4s are going to like do battle for just. Yeah.
I want to see
We
that.
just have to take off our heads because we're immortal.
Yikes.
Highlander fans?
I take it back. I don't want to see that
Am I
at
the
all.
only Highlander geek? Anyone remember the movie The Highlander? Yes. Sandra, hello from Sherlock.
Hey.
Wow, we got people showing up from all over. All right.
Okay, so something that can tend to anger or trigger a type 4 is being misunderstood.
Yes, I
and
hate that.
I had confirmation from this 4 that yes, that is
The
very
worst.
upsetting.
That is my biggest trigger. I will burn a city down to clear my name or be understood. I hate it. This is why I can't do interviews.
Don't burn down cities to clear your name.
I don't like being in books. I don't like being in interviewed for television or newspapers because they never get the details right. Then they have this attitude like, that's close enough. And with me, it's not close enough unless it's 100% truth. It drives me crazy.
So from this article, I thought it was kind of funny. I don't know that this is 100% accurate all of the time, but the author is quoting a friend. Oh no, I take it back. That that in expressing their anger, that they go through this cycle: suppression, sadness, explosion, guilt for outbursts, anger that no one understands you, guilt that you're mad, crying, which is a 7-point cycle. That's kind of a lot.
It's a range of emotions.
And I don't know if all of the
crying
parts happen every time.
You forgot the like black hole manifestation.
Yeah, I'm not
sucking
sure that
everybody in.
enough angst and existential crisis was included in the list, so maybe it's a 9-point process.
See what all my tattoos may do. I go from clean cut to thug in
Woo!
like 2 seconds. Twisted words are the worst. Yes.
Yeah.
4s are truth people, or is it just me?
I think a lot of people are truth people, but you are definitely.
Mm.
So a way for a 4 to handle that more healthily is healthily a word? I don't know.
Vengeance.
No,
Oh.
is because that is kind of an extensive cycle, and a 4, if they're not careful, can just stay in it, can just stay in that like a collusion cycle with themselves of just repeating this spiral, which tends to spiral down. So breaking that cycle, getting out, practicing gratitude, again, prayer, like just getting out in nature.
That's a theme.
Yeah, like just take yourself out of that immediate environment and get a little change of scenery, and that could help. Do you have any other things that you do to help manage your own anger?
Oh, we're going to talk about those later.
You probably dive deep into that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let it go. We should have the Let It Go theme.
You didn't make one?
No.
Okay.
I only had time for heavy metal kittens today.
Oh, which is important. Okay, moving on then to type 5, the investigator. I did get to talk to a type 5 today. And well, first she told me what makes her mad is loud chewing sounds.
Oh,
and I don't know that
who doesn't that make mad?
That's unique to type 5.
Loud chewer right here, my friends. Hey, Jill.
So pet peeves and things maybe are not
raise your hand if you hate loud
specific.
chewing noises.
I mean, who likes loud chewing noises?
Good Lord.
But then she got around to other things, and one thing what she talked about was people who were condescending, and I could really see how a 5 would hate that. Being competent, being knowledgeable, and having expertise is very valuable for a 5. So when someone treats them in a condescending manner, that really sits badly with them. And 5s are a withdrawing type, so they tend to internalize their anger, and she confirmed that she did that. She holds on to it. They can hold a grudge, but she does say, as a healthier 5, that she does work hard, especially with her husband, to work through the things where they have conflict and not just hold on to them and hold that grudge and just withdraw. So
the grudge thing is what I noticed the most about 5s.
There can be. So it's good for healthy 5s to know that they gotta let that go. And she said she does. And I asked her how she gets out of that. And 5s are very in their head. And she's like, she does like think through it. She's like, thinks through it. Like, am I being reasonable about this? Are my expectations reasonable? Am I just hurting myself for holding on to this? Or, is it better for me to let it go? And generally, yeah, it's better to let it go. So
my advice for 5s is to talk to the person you have a grudge about or with. Like I think most of the 5s that I know, when they get mad at somebody, they just shut them out, and they just would rather break the relationship than talk about it. And I think that's pretty.
Yeah, in general, 5s would probably be more likely than other types, or more willing to just shut somebody out. Yep. Okay, I'll hurry along. Got
You're
5
good.
minutes.
You're good.
Okay, so moving along to type 6s are loyalists. And so something that makes 6s probably the angriest is having their trust violated. So they're called the loyalists because they are very loyal and they are trustworthy. So if someone doesn't live up to that, if someone breaks their trust, then that's really upsetting for a 5. So that'll trigger them. And
you mean a 6?
Did I say 5? I mean a 6. Sorry.
Who likes their trust broken? Really?
I mean, no one does like that, but for certain types, it's like extra painful. Yeah, and 5s and 6s and 7s also, they're in the fear triad. So underneath that anger, it's fear. So for 6s, like they really depend on their people, they depend on organizations, they depend on this structure to keep them safe and secure. So when that doesn't live up to their expectations, it's fear that they are unsupported that causes that anger. So
I bet they're really having a hard time with society feeling a little unraveled right now.
I'm sure they are, as many of us are.
Mm.
Let's see. So
Mm.
I didn't get to talk to a 6 today. I don't have very many 6s directly in my life.
Bree Montoya is a 6, but I don't think she's on tonight.
No, but she is. I would love to talk to her about 6ness. So when they're angry, they may they can react pretty emotionally. They might withdraw. They might engage, and it's probably going to take some effort on the other person's part to restore that. So be prepared. And other advice for 6s, as other types, is journaling or getting another person, a neutral third party to kind of vent to and be able to talk to, and they might help you also get a little more perspective on the situation too, which is valuable, honestly, for every type. Okay, then we're at type 7, the enthusiast, and 7s get can get angry when their options become limited. They like lots of choices, and it's very upsetting for them to feel boxed in and restrained. Be cornered, yeah.
Held accountable.
Sometimes, like our dear friend has been so sick and in so much pain from a terrible gallstone, and for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I think it's mostly that she's been mad. She's just been mad that she is, one, trapped in pain, which is the prime fear for a 7, is to be trapped in pain, and she literally has been. And it's kept her from having fun. She's had to cancel all kinds of plans, and she's actually done some, but then been suffering so much she hasn't been able to enjoy it. So that's just her worst nightmare, and it's making her mad. But hopefully,
who likes to be trapped in pain?
I mean, nobody likes it, but
I
for
guess
7,
4s
it's
could
the
like
worst.
to be trapped.
If you have that gallstone or kidney stone, like, I don't know, you haven't had one. Let's not have any. But
knock on wood.
No. But 7s want to party. They want to have a good time.
Well, Sandra's got my husband's new boss labeled the whole dealership without having them take tests. He basically told them what they were and what their problems are. After
Oh no, that is how to misuse the Enneagram. That's a bad boss.
We do not recommend that, but
it's so tempting. But don't type other people. Like I mean,
that's
self-work. We need to figure it out.
A lot about the Enneagram.
And sometimes you can observe, but you don't have to just label them like that. They need to own that. So yeah. Yikes.
And the Enneagram's handy for that, actually, because then if you can observe people's behavior and then realize this is how I should interact with them, probably if they lean towards whatever number, that's really when it becomes beneficial when you're trying to speak other people's language.
And you don't even have to say anything about the Enneagram to them. You can just know better how to interact with them.
Sounds like he's trying to impress them with his knowledge. But yeah, people just get irritated when you tell them who they are. Yeah,
and I bet the boss is not 100% on that. Just guessing.
He sounds very wise.
Hey, good luck to your husband.
He's probably a 5. He wants to know everything. There, I just labeled him.
I do really like to find out my employees' Enneagram types too, but I work with them and I don't just tell them what they are. Mm-hmm. Anyway, let's see. So 7s. Okay, so 7s, to express their anger, they will tend to be pretty straightforward. Other than 8s, they're going to be the most straightforward in their anger, and they want to get it out. They want to get it over with. And they do, if they have conflict, they do want to resolve it because they want to get back to having a good time. So they're just going to get it out there, which is, pretty healthy. So good job, 7s. Okay. Oh, I'm slightly over. Okay, type 8, the challenger. So 8, 9, and 1 are in the anger triad. So anger is, pretty front and center for anger
Their
triad people.
Is the crab.
No, I don't even think that crabs are angry.
They look angry. Have you ever got pinched by a crab?
They're kind of crabby. Okay, so but 8's anger is right at the surface, and
honey badger.
Maybe honey badger. So things that tend to trigger 8. The 8 I talked to today, what triggered her is, I think it was the betrayal. It was people not doing what they said they were what they were going to do. So I think it was the issue with betrayal that 8s tend to have. Probably their biggest trigger is being controlled. They really hate that.
Eat 8s. Eat 8s.
Don't eat 8s.
A little bowl of 8 O's.
Yeah. So, and how they'll express it will be direct, and it will probably blow over pretty quickly. I asked my 8 friend how she expresses it, and in a setting where she can express it, she will. I've experienced this, but she realizes in certain situations where she can't just like. And she said, I forgot her words. I should have written down. They're really funny. But basically, she just said, I just like make myself like full body angry. So everybody around me just knows. And I think that's maybe a safety mechanism angry. So that they keep their distance.
Yeah, I like it.
And she's just like simmering. And I think I've seen this also. So like she recognizes it. She's like, and I can keep it going too. Like she recognizes that's not super healthy. But when she's just like raging inside. And I asked how she managed her anger, and managing anger is really key for type 8s of all types. And she's done a lot of work on herself too. She's like, I check in with myself all the time. Like, why am I so angry? How am I expressing it? Am I doing more damage than good by expressing it this way? If it's at my kids, did my kids stop listening 10 minutes ago? And so I'm just talking to the air. So I think that is valuable. That check-in is really good. Okay. Then moving on to the very last one, the 9s, the peacekeepers. And I told my friends that asked me like, oh, I don't get angry, but that's not true. So 9s are also in the anger triad.
It just blows up all at once because they don't know how to do anger.
Yeah, so we definitely experience anger, but we stuff it down. We stuff it down hard. We do not like this emotion because inner peace is our highest value. So anger is the opposite of inner peace, and we don't want to feel it. And things that will tend to trigger 9s would be, again, injustice. It's other people being mistreated. I read that it is like being interrupted or dismissed or disregarded, but I don't actually think that's true because 9s expect that to happen. So honestly, that's not an angering. But the injustice thing is pretty big. So anger in 9s will, it'll be suppressed and then it will blow up at some point, which my husband has experienced.
And they scream and fall on the ground.
Sometimes.
What
but
is
it
this
will
emotion?
Also,
I don't know what to do with my hand.
Yeah, emotions are. But it'll also, I was talking to other people that are married to a 9. Like,
Carrie.
It'll be a small thing sometimes, just like a slight increase in intensity when the 9 is upset about something, and then their spouse probably will be like, hey, settle down. When it's just like the tiniest little increase in energy, and like, hey, just stop yelling, and they're like,
yeah, you're trying to do me. When we first got married, I could not talk over a monotone voice. You'd be like, quit yelling at me.
But you'll accuse me of yelling if I'm just a slightly elevated.
Well, it's because I'm really intense all the time. And when she gets intense, I'm like, hey, whoa, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, which is really funny.
So I have a license to be crazy, and she does not.
So note to friends and family of 9s, let us be crazy sometimes.
I encourage it. I encourage the crazy.
So for me, I'll just say for me in managing that anger, again, to like attempt to communicate and get it out so it doesn't volcano every several months. Also just talking to people in person instead of online, because not everyone's their best self online.
Brave communication.
Brave communication is good. Like just going outside. And for me, just a practical thing is just having something silly, funny, watching a sitcom or a stand-up comedian. I just sometimes just need to laugh. And that's it. That's it.
Oh.
Okay. I did go over a little bit.
6 minutes. Now I'm going to have to talk really fast. Well, thank you, babe. You can do that was very informative.
Okay. I hope that was some little helpful tidbits.
And now we will rush right into the second half since we're a little bit late and behind. So everybody hang tight. We will come back with phase 2 of...
In just a few seconds.
intro needs to be changed because it stops too fast. Hey everybody, we're
Catches
back.
us dancing.
Wolf Mountain Phase 2. Sandra, yes, laughing is good for all of us.
Mean to laugh.
Welcome to Wolf Mountain Phase 2. Thank you, Susie. If anybody doesn't know, I actually did short film for a while, so I enjoy that part more than the talking.
One of his secret talents.
Yes. Thank you, Jill. I usually do those like a few minutes before Wolf Mountain just because it stresses me out for some reason.
That's how you can relax. You can make tiny intros.
Welcome to Wolf Mountain Stage 2 from 7:30 to 8. Now we talk about spiritual intelligence for those of you who are new or just tuning in. We are your online alternative spiritual community that occasionally is online, apparently, these days. And we just do whatever the heck we want. So for those of you who want to catch this later, we do have replays. They stay around on Facebook for a while, and we also have a YouTube channel called Wolf Mountain. Go figure. Kind of have to scroll down to find it, but
there's other Wolf Mountains.
There are inferior Wolf Mountains out there. Did I miss anything?
No, you got all the bases.
Here we are. Oh yeah, and I'm going to say that I kind of tend to cater to I cater.
I'm just saying.
We cater events.
I don't cater. I'm terrible at cooking.
No, my heart's really to help the spiritually sensitive people, the empathic people, the discerners, the clairsentient, all the clair-gifted people, to be healthy. And so that is where I'm coming from. That's my life. That's how I'm wired. And so tonight again, I'm just gonna go. It seems like specifically it's because other people are going through it, and it's then for me to process and then help other people navigate. So that's what we're going to do tonight. And so we're talking about anger tonight. And I'm just going to play my intro again because I can't.
So funny.
It's one of my secrets. If you hear me listening to heavy metal, you know I'm processing anger.
That's a tool.
So all my Wolf Mountain stuff looks kind of metally right now. But yeah, so back on track. As you know, there's a pandemic going on.
What?
Right?
Where?
I know, and it's like a little tumultuous out there. And I want to talk about anger because I've been experiencing yeah. So just being an empathic person, I tend to pick up what's being broadcast, on many levels. On a more intimate level, on a more like collective level, sometimes a global level. For people wired like us, it's just been super difficult with all the global anxiety. It's really kind of crushing, and I'm pretty good at managing the stuff. I've been at this a long time, and anger is one of the things I really had to early on get a hold of. I come from a family that has this funny trait where we're just Christmas kittens one minute, and then we're like, that's it, you are going to die. And all of us have a look and a switch. And if you flip it, we're just like, it's done. We're an animal and you better run. And also being just the way I'm gifted, I can like completely shift an atmosphere when I'm angry.
It makes the dog leave the room.
You'll know. And that's a good indicator of your mood. Actually, dogs are very empathic.
Mm-hmm.
They just did a big scientific study on this, how dogs really are in tune with your mood all the time.
Right, Susie?
Yeah, Susie knows this. But yeah, my dog would just be like, whoop, leave, because he could feel it coming. And I didn't realize I could even do that until I had a friend who was just wired like me, that you could feel her anger. Like when she was angry, you could literally feel it. And it would just like wear you down. And she was like, I was telling her about it. This was a long time ago. And she's like, well, that's exactly what you do. And it feels like when you're mad. And so me being someone who is very mindful, tries to be very mindful of other people, it's a learning experience. I've tried to learn to manage that the best I can. And being a highly emotional person, I've had to, early on in my life, learn how to channel anger into constructive pathways. And so I'd do this thing, I'd call it the Furies. like I would just feel furious for no reason. And we learned a lot of that was me soaking up other in energy and then processing it through the vehicle of my body. But even my own from just kind of, like trauma I'd been through from a kid, it would just like build up, not processed, and it comes out later. And so that's honestly why I learned to do a lot of extreme sports, and I'd like ride motorcycles really fast. Anything really extreme would help me channel that energy. And so when I'd start to feel this, what I call the furies coming on, I would just be like, I just redirect that. And now these days, I'm really good at managing myself. But I like my chainsaw. It's one of my favorite tools. I get mad. I'm like, I'm going to go out and do some work.
Chop
And
things.
it's like it was really, I'm really good at like repackaging emotion and then pushing it into something else. And so I have a lot of experience with this anger thing. But lately, and I've got to be mindful of my thoughts too, and what I'm ruminating on. Being an empathic person, a clairsentient person, that's someone who feels. Clairsentient is a clear feeler. That word clair you hear, like clairvoyant, clairsentient, all those clair, it just means clear, like clear seer, clear feeler. And it's just a nuanced breakdown of like the discernment gift. But me feeling, I always constantly have to like pay attention to what I'm feeling and my thought process. And things that are out of my norm are things I need to pay attention to and ask where they're coming from, right? And so um lately, like the last couple, I don't know, like not like 3 weeks, it's just there's been a lot of pressure in the atmosphere and people are really, you know, edgy, and we've been stuck in this kind of combative global environment for long. But I will catch myself feeling violent, which is not my MO. Like I have violent thoughts. Like I'm just waiting for someone to piss me off or say the wrong thing. And I really just want to punch somebody in the face. I'm almost like wanting it to happen, and I've caught myself like maybe like, I don't know, 5 or 6 times, just like ruminating on like, I hope somebody just says the wrong thing or just like gets in my space, because I would just love to lay somebody out. And then I'll catch myself like, that is
Like,
actually
what
not the
the?
way I think at all, or just like kind of more of a hate bent to like frustration. And you guys can relate to that, Carrie? Or like kind of more of a hate bent to like just being angry quickly wants to like move over into hate. And it's like, that's not my MO either. Like, that's not something I do, it's actually, and we'll talk about that later. It's like, um, it's not the path. It's like literally directly related to fear and suffering. Hate is, right? And so I'm like, wow, I'm just not a hateful person, but I find myself wanting to hate groups of people or a person, or just having these like kind of a hateful vibe in the air. And what's the other one? So violence, hate, they're just, and kind of like this self pride thing. Like I feel like more, I've had this feeling of like hit me where I feel like more like enlightened, or like, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say woke. That's such a stupid word. Uh, just almost like elitist feeling, or like I'm the good guy, or like I'm the one with all the knowledge. It's hard to explain. It's this weird feel, these weird thoughts I don't normally get, but they're always connected to anger. So I will feel angry about something, and then all of a sudden it like opens the door and this other stuff tries to come in like that. And it's been really sneaky. And I don't think that if I was as conscious of my own thoughts and my body and what's coming at me from the outside, because I always say there's outside thoughts and there's inside thoughts, and I am really aware of outside thoughts trying to come in and what's my thoughts uh, projecting out, if that makes sense to you guys. And so I've been really aware that this outside energy is trying to come in with these things: violence, hate. I want to call it pride. That's what it is. It's like a pride, um, this frustration. And it's really like, I always tell people, you need to have, if you have those giftings, you need to have a baseline for who you are and how you should feel and what you believe, like in your core, or you'll just get taken away with somebody else's feelings, the other energy out there, other spirits that want to try to come in and manipulate you for their purposes. Or even if you're in an environment of people that aren't like-minded or unhealthy, like a workplace is a really good example. If there's got a really unhealthy workplace environment and you're trying to be the light in that environment, but you find yourself being like taken down a stream of other people's energy, if you don't know who you are, you'll just easily be influenced by anything that comes at you. And the Bible calls that being there's a verse that says, it's in like a ancient text that says, I think it's in Proverbs, it says, a man without self-control is like a wave at sea, just gets tossed to and fro, or like a city without walls. Like literally, if you imagine yourself, you're actually a spirit with a body. Your body's in your spirit's not in your body. So if you manage that energy outside of you, it's permeable to other people's energy. And as an empathic person or a person who's sensitive in spirit, you have to learn to kind of shield yourself and like maintain that space. Or, you just having things are coming and going like a city without walls, you'll be easily overthrown, right? If that makes sense. And so that's very important. But anger is not bad, right? I think a lot of times, like in Christian circles anyway, the circles we came out of in church, people don't want to talk about anger or being angry or like experience the emotion of anger, because like some personality types just don't like the feeling. They don't want it. It feels gross to her. I actually kind of thrive on intense emotion. I'm okay with anger. Like I can like grab it like a lightning bolt and like hold on to it and do stuff with it. What I don't like is when it makes me so mad. Like I feel like losing control, or I feel like it needs to like channel out in some kind of violence, which is not, it's something I made a deal with myself when I was very young. I would never use my fists as a vehicle to express anger. And I just don't. I think I punched the wall once.
You did.
When we were having a conversation, I just hit it like this, like I was making this week sheetrock. And I was like literally like so mad at myself for like, just being destructive, actually turning anger into something destructive. And then I had to go down and buy the wall patch kit at the hardware store. And I did that. Someone said, "Oh, you punched the wall, didn't you?"
You're not the first one.
I told them I just made an exclamation point of what I was saying. So I really am disciplined about that. So, but anger itself is not it's not actually a negative emotion. It's something that God gave us. We're made in God's image. God experiences anger. Anger is a useful emotion, and we need it sometimes. We talked about one of the 4 reasons people get angry. The main reasons is injustice, and injustice deserves anger. But we're going to talk about how anger, when it is not under control, can turn into hate, and that is actually sin. And a lot of people right now, in the Christian cultures, especially the evangelical, are kind of deconstructing their faith, so to speak. And they don't want to, it's like a buzzword. It's stupid. Like, why would you deconstruct your faith? You need faith. Deconstruct the religion that was handed to you, shoot, I lost my train of thought. Where was I going?
Anger is not bad. Deconstructing.
Oh yeah, I don't want to talk about the anger thing because it's a negative, right? And they don't want to like no longer want to be held accountable for what sin is. And sin's a funny thing. It's hard to define even for biblical scholars, but the base root of, like a base definition for sin, which I'm just going to throw out there for everybody, is when you do the opposite of what God tells you to do. Like when he gives you a command and you're like, nope. And so if you fall in line with wanting to be Christ-like or God-like or serve love, because God says God is love, then there's one basic command that Jesus says. He says, those who love me obey my commands. My command, then he says singular, is this: to love one another as Christ loves you. I loved you. So what did Jesus do? He died for his enemies. He died for our sins. He made a sacrifice for us when we were still his enemy, so that kind of love. And so if our anger then turns into hate towards people, then that is sin, because we're literally disobeying what Christ said we should do, right? And so then that's as if you're now I know really it's not everybody on here is a Christian who listens to me. I've got people from different walks, but if you are claiming to be a Christian, which is Christ-like, an imitator of Jesus, and you hate people, your anger turns to hatred, slander, all these other things, you are literally sinning. You are doing the opposite of what Christ tells us to do. And I want to talk about that from like the spiritual mechanics standpoint, I like to call it, later. It's a little bit demonology 101, how that works in the spirit realm. Let's see. Let's take some comments. Anger and frustration manifests in me with weariness and lack of energy. I feel helpless, but if I feel empowered by it, I get energized. Yep. Frustration is one of the reasons people get angry. It's on the top 4 of this: being frustrated, injustice, pain. I can't remember what the 4th one is now. But Susie, is it possible to love everyone? That is a good question.
I think it's only supernaturally possible,
yeah.
honestly.
It's kind of a choice. And when I think about that, I mean, some people are pretty unlovable, right? Some pretty dark people out there, you know? But that's the scandalous thing about the grace of God is like the more sin increases, it says, the more grace increases. And we don't come into the presence of perfection. We're not invited up into the presence of perfection, the presence of God, because we are good enough. You know, in no human's good enough to enter into that environment. We're invited into it because we've got grace, and that was the work of Jesus, what he came to do with the sacrifice, like the blood that was shed. That's like the ultimate sacrifice, the ultimate blood magic, basically, if you will, if you're bent that way, that we can come into that presence. So it's this place of humility that I have to go to realize I am not good, you know, other than I've been accepted, you know, I've been given grace. And so for me to look at somebody who's really unlovable, like I just hate that person, you know, if I'm honest. First, you have to be honest because truth sets you free. With me, I'm like, I told somebody the other day, I'm just having a really hard time loving people. Like I'm starting to hate people. You know, that was one of my cues where I really need to do some work. And the truth, that's the truth. Like I actually am starting to hate people. And the truth sets you free. And then when I admitted that, I could have a dialogue with the spirit and release some of that. And, you know, I have to come to a place of humility to realize that everyone's broken, but God, God does not delight in the demise of anybody, even the wicked. And so it's a place of humility to look at somebody and realize you can't love them, but God does, you know. And so then I have to ask, like, God, let me look at that person and all their brokenness through your eyes, you know, because God looks at everybody like his child, no matter what they're doing. And so that's really hard, and that's the way I get around it. But there's some people I'm just like, no, you don't want, and I admit it, like, yeah, I'm not gonna, you know, I wouldn't last 5 minutes in a room with you, but I still choose to love you as another human being who's broken in the same place of humility that I'm in, that we're not perfect, we're just given grace. And so I think the best example for that is that I can point to in the Bible is there's this really obscure verse that talks about Michael the archangel, which is like one of the main angels in the Bible, like the archangel, it stands in the presence of the God, which you cannot do unless you are sinless and perfect, right? And so just the very fact that he stands in the presence of God means he's a pretty big deal, right? That he had an argument with the devil before God over the body of Moses, and he would not slander, it says, the devil. He wouldn't say anything bad about the devil. He wouldn't slander him or defame him. He just said, God deal with you, basically. May God rebuke you. And so what he said is like, what that is like, I'm one of the highest created beings there is, but I know my place in the universe. I am not God. So I am just going to direct you to God, and I am not going to put any judgment on you at all, basically what he says. And that's a really crazy verse. And I think it's thrown in there just so if we can wrap our head around it, we'll realize that that's the place we need to be at with this. Just like, I'm a created being. I'm not going to judge you. I'm going to let the perfect one judge you, if that makes sense. So we're getting on an interesting tangent here.
Yeah.
But I do want to break down. We've got like 4 or 5 minutes. I really want to break down this verse for you. So let's fast forward a little bit. There's a verse in the Bible that says, and this is what stood out to me. It kept coming to me. In your anger, do not sin. It's like Or it says, be angry and do not sin in some Bibles. So it says, be angry, but don't sin.
Mhm.
And then it says, do not let the sun go down on your anger, and give no opportunity to the devil, or foothold or place in some translations. So I want to reframe this verse for you guys because it's pretty powerful. So if I was going to reframe that, it would say, be angry. It's okay to be angry. Go ahead and be angry at the things, injustice, the things that make you angry, but do not lose control and let your anger turn into hate. Do not sin in your anger. Do not start hating people, because it says in the Bible, we wrestle not with people, with flesh. We wrestle with principalities and powers. That's unseen forces, spiritual powers and unseen forces is our main foe. We cannot turn our fellow man into our enemy. That's not our enemy. Everything that drives darkness behind what humankind does that's evil is all initiated through those unseen forces, influenced by. So do not be angry, or be angry, but do not lose control or let your anger turn into hate, sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger. And that's really interesting. So do not let the sun go down on your anger. So like, do not go to bed while you're still angry is really interesting. And that, is like, well, is there some kind of spiritual mechanics where if you go to bed angry that you wake up and you're like possessed or something, or you're like worse off? I don't know. Like, but it's interesting that when I was reading this, what really stood out to me is like, if you are angry, do not avoid the light. Like God is the light that exposes everything, right? That's darkness. Do not hide that. Do not like shrink away from the light if you are angry. Go ahead and bring it into the light and say, I am angry. Remember, like I said, the truth sets you free. You can bring that into the light, but don't foster it in darkness. Don't go to bed angry and in darkness just brood over it and like foster that thing out of the light. Let that exist. Like it's really healthy. Like, why am I angry? If you find yourself angry, why am I angry? And just look at it and start asking the spirit questions. That's bringing it into the light, letting the sun, the light, examine it and help you through it so it doesn't turn into something negative in your life. Um, and the really interesting part I really want to talk about is do not mark out a place for the devil, is basically what that last part says. So the devil doesn't get a foothold. Basically, when you interpret that verse in the Greek, it says, do not mark out a spot for Diabolos. And so in your anger, do not let it turn to hate. Expose it to the light. Don't foster it in darkness, and mark out a place for Diabolos to live. So Diabolos is where we get the name, where we get the word devil, which literally means accuser. Um, there's other words that are associated with Diabolos that come from that word. They are slander, defamation, backbiting, destruction, the destroyer, accuser, criticism with the intent to harm, condemnation, and to sever relationships. Isn't that really interesting? There's a lot of that going on. So on a spiritual level, that is like there's like a spirit of Diabolos, accusation that wants to come in through the porthole of your anger, the doorway of your anger, if that makes sense. So when you are angry, you have to be careful then that you're not making an agreement with Diabolos, all those things, because those will come in and take up residence. You literally make a space for them in your heart and invite those in. So, like the old vampire movies where like a vampire wouldn't come in a house unless you invited it in and then it would come in. That is actually how it works in the spirit realm. Like things aren't invited in unless you invite them in. And so the way that works is if you come into an agreement, they call it, with the if you want to call it a thought form like some people do, or a demonic spirit, or um, a dark energy, if you have something that agrees with that, it can then stick to you. And so then if you decide I'm going to start channeling my anger into hate, then you come in agreement with the spirit of Diabolos, and then it can take residence in your body or in your spirit, basically, and it kind of integrates into your operating system like your computer. It's like iOS hate. It, for lack of a better term, it really works that way. And so then it starts forming neural pathways in your mind and it starts causing you to think a certain way. So I don't know if you know what a neural pathway is, but it's like a street that your thoughts go down. and the streets start getting ruts in them like snow. And the deeper they are, the harder it is to think differently. And so when you're partnered with the spirit of Diabolos and doing all these things, slandering, defaming, backbiting, destroying, accusation, criticizing with the intent to harm, condemnation, and you're severing relationships because your thought patterns and your behavior is destructive, you're literally making those ruts deeper and deeper and deeper. And when you want to change, and like, I just don't want to do this anymore, I realize I'm in error, I'm not loving people, it's really hard to get out of those ruts then, because they're so deep, because you have invited that Diabolos spirit to come in and live inside you. And it makes it really difficult later to break that pattern of behavior. Everybody knows how it's really hard to like stop a behavior like eating like unhealthy, or not exercising, or doing too much of this or that, or too much internet. It's really hard to get out of those behaviors, right? You have to make some concerted effort to do it. It's way harder with your thoughts. It all starts in your thoughts. So we really don't want to let our anger come into agreement with that spirit of Diabolos that will come in with all of those things and cause us to operate that way. And man, I could talk on this a lot more. We're out of time.
I need a part 2.
We might need a part 2, but I encourage you guys with this. So this is that is literally like a virus in the spirit. It literally is. Call it the Diabolos virus. It's worse than the Delta virus. So
Contagious.
as an empathic person, a sensitive person, anybody, when you feel somebody come at you, and right now it's really bad. People that I trust and I know, and I used to, I still respect them, but they're just such a weird place right now. I just am having a hard time with. They really want to hand you that spirit. They want to hand you their anger. They want to give it to you. And it's like the coronavirus. They want to sneeze it at you and hope that it takes residence in your spirit. They want to hand you their hate and want you to carry it.
They're sneezing hate at you.
They're sneezing
hate.
It's
terrible.
And so if you're talking to somebody, they're just angry and slandering somebody. I'm so disappointed. I see people that are supposed to be Christ-like, like they might hate this person or that person. I'm not even gonna like name names or anything, but people in political offices, local, international, national, like drawing horns and swastikas and saying nasty things on them, and like really generating the kind of hate that would cause somebody to get murdered, like start a mob mentality and start killing somebody, and mob mentalities turn into hysteria, and hysteria turns into murder. It's the path of evil. But people like they're supposed to be Christ-like, coming to agreement with hate. That is hate. Like, you cannot be claiming to be Christ-like and be doing that to anybody. I mean, I don't care who it is. It's just not the way. And so I encourage you, when you have friends like that are trying to like hand you that to carry, like, come in and join this. I'm giving you my hate. You can literally feel it, and you need to put up your boundaries in the spirit. Like, I am not allowing that in. I'm not going to come into agreement with that, because my MO, since I want to be the light of the world and I want to serve love, is I need to love people despite of their behavior. And if I am feeling anger towards a situation politically and an injustice, the way things are happening, I need to ask the spirit, like, I'm feeling anger towards this. How can I repurpose that into something constructive? Mm-hmm. Because the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of light, is creative. It creates, and it creates perfection, and it creates beauty, and it creates order, and it creates peace. The kingdom of darkness causes, it's still, kill, destroy, it's disorder. And so you cannot fight disorder with disorder and turn it into order. You cannot fight darkness with darkness and turn it into light. You cannot fight ugliness with ugliness and turn it into beauty, right? You can be angry, and angry is a good emotion, but don't let your anger turn into hate, because that is the path of destruction and misery.
We need iOS love,
iOS
not
love,
iOS hate.
Not iOS hate.
It's
a malware. So
malware. It's
really important, right, you guys? I want you, when you go out there and you're interacting with people, even when you're online, you can, everything's energy, everything's energetic. It can come over the internet, it can come over the television, it can float through the air, it can be handed to you by a person. If you imagine your spirit outside your body, not your body inside you, or your spirit inside your body like it is, you're actually just permeable to everything out there, and so you need to manage that space so you don't get a virus of hate, the Diabolos virus. We don't want that. So Anything else to add?
No, that was good.
Cool. I might have to do a part 2 on this. I don't know. I think you guys got what I'm talking about. But I love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry, we went a little over. I have a lot more to say about this, but our time's cut short. We will probably not be back next week because we're going to do some stuff, but maybe the week after. So
Maybe 2 weeks.
Maybe 2 weeks.
It's a good amount.
We're trying to do every other week. So thank you for tuning in. We love you guys. Keep showing up. Keep doing it as long as you want us to. And like I said, you can catch the replays on Facebook for a while or our Wolf Mountain YouTube channel. And if you got anything you want us to talk about, just instant message us and let us know. We'd be happy to talk about it. And thanks for the Enneagram knowledge.
Sure.
Thanks for everyone for being here. And we'll talk to you all later.
Oh.
Here's that point. I know we talked about it earlier. It's very tall. I had a tall hair day. What can
Thanks,
I say?
Gary. A tall hair day.
We'll see you guys.
Be well, you guys. We love you.
Bye.